Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Electric Car Hangout. And what a week it's been. I hope everyone's doing well. I'm back to the old camera here, so my responses to the chat might be a little delayed, but I'll do what I can. It's a little different setup, back to how it used to be, so hope you all are doing well. I'm going to do my best to remain relatively calm and want to start out talking about the Ford Lightning. They had their reveal event yesterday. The F-150 has been the best-selling truck for 45 years, the best-selling vehicle in the U.S. for like 25 years, something like that. So, although I don't need a truck for EVs, for electric vehicles in general, it's a great moment that these things are starting to be produced. Obviously, they're still producing the gas and diesel variants, but it's the start of a transition on a very major product, and that's very cool. I'm excited that Ford, I think in the presentation, I think it was Jim Farley talked about they've expanded what they thought the plant was going to be 2 times during the construction. And that's something we've talked about here before, is that, Ford started out with kind of minimal, let's dip our toe in plans, and has seen the opportunity through the Mach-E and then the response the Lightning got at just the reveal that now it's actually, they're really putting the power of the company behind it. And that's really exciting to see. The presentation was fine, a corporate presentation. Lots of nod to the UAW, which the workers deserve a lot of credit. You can debate the merits of the union thing, but really it's a good thing, and them making a big deal out of the workers is a great thing. It's good to have jobs with a future-proof product being produced in that area again. So that's very cool. They did some nice little highlights with some people behind the scenes of a gal whose great-grandfather worked there, and she was talking to Bill Ford. That was nice. I don't want to say it was manufactured, but of course, they did it for the specific, pull at the heartstrings, kind of tell the legend of Ford, which is fine. And it was like sincere, she, was part of the team that brought this forward, and, her emotions and everything about, and her feeling of history with the company was very sincere. But obviously, they put that on camera because, of the history and, trying to show, that great pageantry through the ages. But overall, it was a good presentation. There were a couple laggy moments, but nothing outrageous. They did take a couple little swipes at Tesla, which I thought were in pretty good-natured fun. The first was something to the effect of you can even charge another. They were talking about the charge plugs or the outlets in the frunk, and then the outlets in the bed of the truck as well. And you could charge your tools. You could charge this, you could charge that, you could run saws, power your home. You can even charge an EV with it. So so you can help out all your friends who own Teslas. And I thought that was pretty good. That to me was kind of a perfect balance of a little ribbing and kind of gamesmanship, sportsmanship, whatever, just having a little fun, and why not? They didn't they were able to talk about the elephant in the room without disparaging, just kind of bringing it up. And there was another comment that was a little later. I can't quite remember what it was, but it was a little more pointed. But it. I thought it was good. It was what it needed to be. I was hoping there would be deliveries to actual customers there. They brought some people with reservations to the event, and I thought, okay, this is going to be their delivery. And they even had a little thing about, I think it was Bill Ford doing a Zoom call with them, saying, hey, well, we'd really like you to come to the event. And I thought, you're doing a Zoom call to bring them to the event, not to, hey, we'll deliver your truck while you're here. And I guess if you're bringing people from out of state, that kind of makes sense. But it would have been cool if you could have seen, some handovers and things, just to kind of make it seem a little more real. But they're producing them, and that's fantastic. And once these things get on job sites, I really think there's going to be, they're really going to be turning a lot of heads and changing a lot of minds. When people can see the things you can charge in the frunk overnight with it locked, or in the bed, using tools off the hatch on the back, it opens up a lot of possibilities. So I was super excited for the Rivian to come out, and I'm glad that those are rolling out. Ford, of course, had to say this is the first truck out, and, they're talking full size. The Rivian's a little smaller than full size, but the Rivian and the Ford are going to appeal. There's going to be some crossover appeal, obviously. But they're made for different things, and I think the production volumes are going to be different. Hopefully Ford can really ramp up their production targets. I know they're kind of not taking orders for the rest of this year because they're booked up. And that kind of makes sense, but, on the other hand, you just wish they could grow their, push their production further. But we'll see how that rollout goes. I would love to get my eyes on one of these relatively soon, but who knows when and if these will be delivered in Minnesota. Hi, Todd. Hi, John. Welcome. Like I said, I'm a little behind on the chat is coming up in two places, so if you leave a comment, it's going to take me a minute to get to it. But it's a big milestone in the automotive world, and I'm really excited. A couple of years ago, right after the Cybertruck was revealed, I did an interview with some guys in my extended family, and it was a video that went pretty viral for me, and it was just a conversation at Thanksgiving about, what do they look for in a truck, in the Midwest, and how do they use it for work or for hunting or for camping trips, etc. And at the time, it seemed so far away. And the Cybertruck, was the only thing announced at the time. Maybe Ford had done the stunt with the train cars. I can't remember. I think that may have come afterward. But, we were just in the... Excuse me. We were just in the very early days of, building the truck. And what was really interesting, kind of depressing, while watching that event was the comments as they were scrolling by. You have like some really distinct categories of responders in there. And the first batch was electric sucks, it's all trash, EVs are a scam, it's terrible. Then you had another batch of people who were like, would be great if you put an V8 in it. Then there were, people kind of in like me who were saying, "Hey, congratulations, Ford! This is great. Let's see these out on the road. Can't wait for it." And I would say there were a lot of people like that. Then you had other people who were very Tesla and rude, as far as Ford's trash. Wait till the Cybertruck. It'd be better if it was a Tesla. All that kind of stuff, and those people aren't the majority of Tesla owners, but they make a lot of noise, and it's super frustrating and not conducive to like bringing more EVs to market. So really kind of drives me nuts. But on the other hand, you also had the people then responding or, goading Tesla fans saying, like, this is a real truck. They should call it the cyber fraud, or, like stuff like that. And, Cybertruck's never going to come out. It's vaporware, all that. And so that was a little disappointing to see. But really, for the most part, people were encouraging. Obviously, if you chose to watch that presentation, unless you wanted to troll it, you were probably there for actually being interested in the vehicle. So that was good. I don't know if anybody else watched it. If they have thoughts in the chat, feel free to add your comments in there. And I'm just going to catch up with the chat here for a second. John says, nice interview on the Kia Niro. Thank you. Had a couple great owners, Loring and Brian, who took about an hour to talk to me about their ownership experience of the Kia Niro and, their different use cases and things, and, pretty good, interesting to get their take on a vehicle I don't know too much about, other than John and I did play around with it in an earlier video. John yes, we're okay. Little discombobulated tonight. John is asking, am I going to buy one? I think he's talking about the F-150. No, I don't have a use for a truck really anymore, so no Lightning for me, but I'm looking forward to seeing him on the road. Maybe next time so I need to move, I'll ask someone with a Lightning to help out. Let's see. John says, Tesla taps are out of stock. Oh, well, yeah, everyone was talking about them. John was texting me. We did this short video about the Tesla tap, and then it seemed like 5 other channels also were talking about that or a similar product. So kind of funny, but I guess they're sold out now. John says if he had gone to the event, he'd better get a Tesla for a rental car. He's got an autopilot question here. I was on Crosstown a couple days ago and had cruise set for 65 with an autopilot pretty well. The car turns the blinker on, goes around the slowpokes, handles the curves, no problem. Good. On FSD, it still drives like a drunken person when it makes turns. Steering wheel gets jerky, then straightens out. Yeah, I've had some good and bad. In the rain, it's been more jerky than in nice weather, which I guess makes a little more sense. It's more confident when it can see better, but it'll be interesting. I'm really curious what the next beta version is going to... what the next beta version improvements will be, and if they'll be noticeable. John said, if the Tesla computer system has hotspot capability, I wish it would be turned on. It has to have a radio transmitter on the screen to do that. Oh. I don't know too much about the hotspot and kind of how that whole system works. I just use mine to play the basic, satellite radio, and don't do too much playing around with it. So, not sure about that. But to get back to the Lightning, because I did actually want to cover some EV stuff today. I think the version they're producing right now is the Pro version, which is kind of the stripped down contractor version that I think people now can order, but it's more for professionals. So I don't think the range is super great. They say it'll have an available 320 miles, but I don't think that's the Pro version. Mid 4 second 0 to 60 time, so about as fast as my Model Y, which is plenty fast, especially for a pickup. And then I'm not sure which version this is, but the targeted maximum payload is 2,000 pounds. Targeted available maximum towing capacity is 10,000 pounds, but they've got some little asterisks up after that. But all in all, it's a milestone vehicle when it's been so popular for so long in the EV world, or in the automotive world, that to go electric is a huge thing. And the Mach-E is great, and it was a great first step. But it's built in Mexico. There's some issues with some of the speed throttling, I think, with battery temps and stuff. So hopefully, not necessarily because this is made in the U.S., but the new Lightning being built on kind of its new foundation here. We'll see a lot of those improvements being made. So, Tyler, hello, welcome. He is asking how the event went. Tyler and I and Tony, who's in the chat sometimes, and I want to say Richard, I hope I got that right, all participated in a Earth Day event down in Northfield, Minnesota this past weekend. And so we had 2 Tesla Model 3s, a Chevy Bolt, and my Model Y. And good event, but very windy and a little brisk, a little rainy, kind of, not real hard rain, just kind of sprinkles. But we were talking to a handful of people, but it wasn't the massive community event I think everybody wanted it to be. But there were a lot of vendors and different people walking around, and we did get to let people sit in them, ask questions. Several kids were playing the beach buggy racing in my car for a while. That's why Tyler was asking about the tires going thump thump thump, because they were mostly, I guess everybody there was playing with the steering wheel. And there were kind of black marks under my tires from twisting back and forth. But the tires held up, didn't have any issues, no thumping. So I'm glad we didn't start that earlier in the day. I did let another kid play at the following event. I drove from there over to Red Wing, Minnesota. And they had another gathering there. And so I wasn't going to turn on the game, and then a young girl got stung or bit by a wasp and was crying, and so we were trying to find a way to distract her. I'm like, here's a video game. But I did have her use the controller there. So that was pretty good. beach buggy racing saved the day. John says, I wonder how the F-150 Lightning is going to handle snow plowing. Yeah, that's a big use that we'll have for it. I suppose, the speeds are going to be pretty low when you're plowing snow. If you're doing like parking lots or things like that. You're going to be pushing a lot of weight, but you aren't going to be going super fast. But you have cold temps. It'll be interesting. Next winter, we should see if anybody knows somebody who does plowing and is planning on getting an F-150 Lightning. Let me know, and we'll see. We'll see if we could do an interview next winter. That sounds like a good time. Not that I really want to drive around in the cold watching someone plow snow, but hey, if it makes a good video, I'll do it. I would think, you're plowing snow, but you're also not driving very far. Probably you do a handful throughout the day, but they're probably all relatively close, so I would think it would do all right. The hydraulic systems run off at 12 volt on a snowplow. Well, that's interesting too, because I think Tesla charges the 12 volt from the big pack because there's no alternator. But I can't imagine the hydraulic lift, although it's doing a lot of work. That's a good question. That'll be really interesting to see. Yeah. That's got me kind of puzzled. Hope it does well. I hope it can perform, for whatever work people need it to do. Otherwise, it's one of those things like, an EV that's not very good, like, say, Toyota is producing right now. Kyle Connor just did. I haven't watched the video yet. I'm not sure if it's been released, but he just tested the new Toyota kind of crossover SUV thing they're doing that I think is the same as the Subaru, and I think the same as maybe Lexus. But he was testing the Toyota one, and I think the comment he had was, I could have gotten my doctorate while waiting for that thing to charge. So that's disappointing. It's, from what I remember, it's got a pretty low range, and if it charges slow too, it's just going to be an in-town commuter car, and that's okay, but pretty unfortunate compared to what else is out there right now. And Toyota, I think, is just dragging their feet because they don't want to. They've got such a lucrative hybrid market right now that they're afraid to give that up. But I think if they don't give that up, they're going to be left behind. Tyler says, busy forks, yeah. John says, the armrest in the Toyota slams into the cup holder. That's really useful. And you can't unlock the armrest. Yeah, he was getting like 26 kilowatts at 65%, Tyler was saying, and that's horrible. And I think it was like at maybe 90% and only getting 1 kilowatt or something like that. But check out Out of Spec Motoring or Out of Spec Reviews. I can't remember which one it's on, but they'll have his video, Kyle Connor's video of the new Toyota EV. So kind of disappointing. I was really hoping with Toyota when they made the Prius that it was going to be just kind of a snowball. They were going to roll down the hill of first it's just the hybrid that we have, then they do a plug-in hybrid, and it seemed to take forever for them to finally do that. But I thought, they'll do that, then the plug-in, then it'll just be all electric. And Toyota's going to crush everyone because, they've got this flywheel spun up. And it just didn't happen, and it's so disappointing. They really gave up a lead, in my opinion. Yeah, so other EV news that's been going on. NIO just produced their 200,000th vehicle, which is a good milestone. Obviously more is better. So great that they hit that milestone. I hope they continue to produce and hope people keep buying them and enjoying them. Lucid has an order for 100,000 vehicles, apparently. I think through they got a loan or are partially owned by I think the Saudi fund. And so they're going to be, I think, making a production facility in Saudi Arabia. And they've got an order, I think, from the government for 50,000 vehicles that could be extended to 100,000 over the next 10 years. So it's a big number, but it's over a long time period. So it's good. It's better than none. And hopefully, they continue their production ramp as well. I don't have too much to say about that. I do hope Lucid succeeds, and I hope, they do well. But right now it seems like they just need to keep cranking on production and getting those vehicles out there, which is kind of where a lot of people are. And I think I'll use that as the springboard to talk a little bit about the big thing that's gone on this week, and that is Elon deciding that he's going to maybe get some friends together, or however he's doing it, but he's going to purchase Twitter. And before I say anything, Chris Kavanaugh, who again is sometimes in the chat here, posted an article that I hadn't seen otherwise, but it's by let's see, I don't have, what is her name? The article is by James Walsh, but it's an interview with Kara Swisher. And Kara is someone who's interviewed Elon several times and has met him, has a pretty good beat on who he is. And I read her article, and it was the first refreshingly balanced take on Elon buying Twitter, and for the most part is much better at articulating my thoughts, are pretty aligned with what she says. So I put the link in the description below. I encourage people to read that. Whether you hate Elon or love Elon or whatever, I think it's a good article from someone who's met him and interviewed him several times. If you want the broad strokes of my thoughts, that article articulates them. But how I was talking about the volume of Lucid, or the volume of NIO, or what Ford wants to do with the F-150. Like I said, that's all great, and we need as many people making EVs as can be. Hey, Dusty, welcome. So, speaking of which, I'll flash you a little bit here. I've got my 5-count shirt on, so wanted to make sure I pointed that out for you. But I was just, kind of having a Twitter discussion with someone, and the thing that's disappointed me, I guess I'll start with this. Keep it calm. The thing that's disappointed me is so many people who are kind of known for being open-minded have really jumped on the "this is the worst thing in the world" bandwagon. And excuse me. What really kind of drives me nuts is what really grinds my gears is that people who, are kind of the champions of open-mindedness and all this kind of stuff are so quick to dump on anything Elon does, especially when, he could have spent this money on this. He could have spent this money on this. He could have given it to my organization or your organization or whatever. And people just go with what they think rather than keeping an open mind and seeing where this goes. I think I said on last week's or the week before that I think him buying Twitter was kind of a bad idea as far as he's got great projects going on. SpaceX just sent 4 new astronauts up to the space station last night. They just docked before I came on and got into the space station. So fantastic work by SpaceX. What SpaceX is doing with Starlink in Ukraine is fantastic. Tesla has pushed the whole audio industry, I would say, at least a decade ahead of when they would have transitioned to EVs. He's pushing that, through Tesla. And so, if you think climate change is a problem, that should be, heralded as a great thing. But he's a billionaire, and so therefore it's bad. And I get that mindset, but he did just pay $11 billion in taxes, and people will say, well, that's nothing. But regardless, I guess I've just been so disappointed in people not taking the time to listen to what he said about it, just make very broad assumptions based on whatever their own boogeyman is. It's kind of been like a Rorschach test of what your fear is or what your concern about whatever is. On some people's posts, it's all about white supremacy. On other people's posts, it's all about Trump. On other people's posts, it's he wants your data. And, there's just like whatever your niche is, that's the thing that Elon's going to do and ruin Twitter and break the world and, everything. I've got a much more wait and see attitude toward it. Like I said, I don't think it was a good idea from a attention standpoint, for him focusing. Not that he can't focus on other things, but I like what SpaceX and Tesla are doing, so I'd like the focus to remain there. Hey, Jim, the Iowa Tesla guy is here. Hi, Jim. Hi, all. Can't stay long. Have a very early business day trip tomorrow. The bad is it will be 9 hours of driving. The good is it will all be in his Tesla. Oh, well, that is good. That's 9 a 9-hour trip though. After you just got back from Colorado and had a lot of wind to contend with. So glad you made it back, and hope that trip didn't end up being too long with the wind. I think you had bad wind both ways, didn't you? I could be incorrect there, but so anyway, I going back to the Twitter thing, I think people need to kind of calm down, wait and see what happens, and we're kind of hardwired to resist change. That's why it's so hard to get people into electric vehicles unless they drive one and go, oh, hey, this is a real car, and it's fun. It's not some go-kart with a, sparking 9-volt battery in the back of it. It's actually a vehicle that I could use with my family. But people don't like change. We've been driving since we were 16 or 15 or 14 some places. And, I always go to the gas station, and I don't want to do something that's different. Yeah, it might be good, but I don't want different. And so, getting over those hurdles, maybe Elon will ruin Twitter. It's a distinct possibility. But what if he makes it better? And, nobody seems to be worrying about what if the bots go away? What if, I've seen a lot of people saying, oh, I got a whole bunch of accounts all of a sudden. And I thought, well, you might lose a whole lot of, you might lose a whole lot of followers one of these days, once, he kind of gets in there and hopefully can do something about it. I know I have a lot of young ladies who are very interested in crypto and Bitcoin and all sorts of things who just started their account a couple days ago. And, these young, beautiful women who just want to follow me and want me to follow them back. And as much as I like the attention, I have a feeling some of those might go away once the bots are cleared out. Going back to Jim here, he says, yep, 1,800 miles in 3 days. Bad wind both ways would be a great t-shirt idea. Yeah, that is a good idea. Hey, Aaron, welcome. I really like that t-shirt idea. Anyway, so I was just having, Jim says, I like that a lot. Not helpful for passenger side. On the driver's side, there's... Oh, John was asking Jim about the new mirrors. And Jim is saying, I like it a lot. Not helpful for the passenger side. On the driver's side, there's absolutely no blind spot. Oh, great. That's good to know. Jim did a review of some, I think there were replacement rear view mirrors that you pop the old ones out carefully and pop the new ones in. So check out Jim's channel if you want to see what that's all about. So, like I was saying, I get frustrated with people who seem to have open minds, are so just locked down of, Elon's the devil, Twitter's going to be terrible, and I'm so brave for staying. A lot of posts like that were just a little over the top. I think people are clutching their pearls a little bit too hard. And like one person who I follow that, I have a decent amount of respect for, Elon tweeted something in Latin that meant basically, we struggle to the stars, which as a rocket company CEO, I don't know if he's the CEO, but head designer, whatever, he owns the rocket company. That's a perfectly legitimate thing to post. And this person I follow was like, I'm not going to stick around here if I have to listen to, him just tweeting garbage all the time. It's like, well, he does own a company that, deals with rockets, and, there's, that's a perfectly acceptable thing, if Tory Bruno or Jeff Bezos, Richard Branson had tweeted the same thing, nobody would care because it's, just a a space thing. So I don't know. It's just really been weird seeing the reactions. One group was saying, well, if you like if you like EVs, but don't like Elon buying Twitter, don't buy a Tesla, and it's fine if you don't want to buy a Tesla. I'm not, I want people to get into EVs. I really like my Tesla, but I just commented like, hey, I'm not crazy about the Twitter acquisition, but I'm a very happy Tesla owner, and the Tesla has pushed the whole automotive industry at least by 10 years to switch to electric. And if you care about climate change, you should really consider that as a positive. And somebody responded to me, and we had a really civil conversation. He had good points, but he's saying there's now there's a lot of other companies making EVs, and so although that's great, now you don't need to go to Musk's company, and that's true. But no one is near the volume of EVs that Tesla is making. Maybe that mini Chinese little box that sells so well in China. But that's not, when we're talking about cars, that's not really a thing. So again, if you want the advent of, sustainable energy, sustainable future, if you care about climate change, Tesla's doing a lot, and they're doing a lot fast and expanding fast to make that change happen faster. So, people want to paint with a very narrow brush the negatives and ignore the positive. So there's been that, and we've talked about can Elon be, and this is covered in that article better than I will here, but can Elon be a real jerk? Absolutely. Is it frustrating as hell as being a Tesla supporter, SpaceX supporter, when he does or says stupid, obnoxious things, hurtful things? Absolutely. But in the balance of a human being, you have to decide how much are you going to criticize someone for their faults and praise them for the good things they do. And at some point with Elon, I kind of just go, he's a human being. He's going to screw up. He's going to make bad jokes that don't land. And he's going to say stupid things occasionally. Like any family member you have, any human being are going to do some good things and hopefully mostly good things. But there's going to be some bad or stupid mixed in there as well. Jim just said, yes, replacement on the mirrors, and also wife approved, so that's good. John says, Brian, in Minnesota, you need to buy a Tesla if you want to go on a road trip or sit at a level 2 charger for 4 hours. Yeah, that's definitely part of it too, is, there are still places only Teslas can travel efficiently. So, as much as I don't think everybody needs to buy a Tesla, there are still places like western Minnesota or, North Dakota, really South Dakota too, where buying a Tesla is the absolute best option for you, owning an EV. But then there's also the factor of who owns the other companies. Nobody cared who owned Twitter 2 weeks ago. Nobody cared who owned it 6 years ago. It's just Elon, and so it's a firebrand, and all of a sudden it's terrible. Again, forgetting who owned it, what shady, conglomerate, or, who they're funding or where the data is going, all for the interests of, the share price, the shareholders. And really, when Elon didn't get accepted to the board or rejected being on the board, a lot of people were like, well, see, you can't even pass a background check. And I think, with the work he's done for NASA and stuff, I think he's probably passed a background check. But I have a feeling it was more to be on the board, you have to do, a fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders. And I have a feeling he knew that if he wanted to make the changes that he felt needed to be made, people are going to lose money for a while. And to, think of all the accounts that have huge follower accounts. Well, if most of those are bots and you get rid of the bots, then, people are going to be mad, maybe leave the platform, maybe stop advertising, because suddenly, where did all my followers go? But in that case, they have the responsibility to clean up the platform, if that's indeed what he's going to do, I would say supersedes the need to make money off that person with this huge follower count. So, I think the changes he's going to make will hopefully long-term be good. But I think they were, this is going to either cost a lot of money to change, or it's going to make shareholders scurry in the short term. And that's why he wanted to take it private, because you can't do some of those major overhaul changes without making investors really nervous. So if you're the investor, you can do it and go, yeah, I'll make it up later. I'm not worried about it. If you really believe, and it really is, the right thing to do to improve the platform. So I think that was, kind of part of why he ended up, just saying, I'm going to buy it all. Obviously, that spooked a lot of Tesla investors. And yesterday was kind of a bloodbath for Tesla investors. If you took your money out, if you didn't take your money out, it doesn't matter. I've only got, I think, 5.25 shares or something. So it goes up, it goes down. I don't care. I'm not getting a new house or a new car out of it, but I'm, I'd like to eventually see a return on that. But yeah, I think people were really worried about, is he going to have to sell all his Tesla stock, and will Tesla go under? Tesla's got tons of money in the bank. They just posted an incredible quarter of profits, and there's zero concern about that. I think this is just something Elon feels like. I don't even know if he feels like he needs to do it, but I think he feels it needs to be done, and no one else was going to do it. What I would love to see is Elon kind of backing away from running it. And he's even said in the TED interview, which I would encourage you to watch if you haven't seen either of the two TED interviews from last week. He said, it's not like I'm going to be in there checking, going over tweets and editing them or, whatever. It's going to be other people. But if he can find, I'm thinking of Gwen Shotwell, who basically runs SpaceX, and the amazing job she did, that we're at a point now where Elon wasn't at the launch, as far as I know, last night. Other people, very capable, qualified people on the SpaceX team, managed that crewed launch to the space station. And he doesn't need to be there and babysit it. He's working on Starship and that kind of thing. The crew team that runs the Dragon program is, really just fantastic. And what I would love to see is something like that for Twitter is, say, hey, we want to clean up the bots. We want to open source the code so that people know if they're kicked out, if they're, suspended, everybody can see why, everybody knows the rules of the road. And, if he can do that, get those processes in place, get a good person or a handful of people to manage the day-to-day, and people feel like, in a couple months, people feel like, oh, this is, a pretty good place to hang out, I think it could be a positive. It's kind of like FSD, people assume the roads are safe right now, and adding FSD makes it unsafe. Twitter wasn't exactly a playground of all fun and love and hugs and kisses before Elon, made this bid to buy it. And, maybe it'll get better from a bot standpoint. But, I do think there's something valuable about people feeling comfortable to say what they want within reason. Now, Elon's talked about this too in the TED interview. He spoke a lot about the, Twitter is, based in America. It runs in all these other countries. All of these countries have rules about, harassment and hate speech and things like that. So to function, as a company, they need to adhere to those kind of things. Then you add on the other layer of Twitter's only going to be successful if it's on Google Play, the iTunes iStore, the App Store, whatever you call it. And I think there's one other, Android apps or whatever. So, they all have their terms and conditions of what can be done and said, within the apps of theirs. So they're going to have some say in it. Local laws, local, things are there's going to be layers that they're going to have to adhere to. It doesn't mean you're not going to hear from obnoxious jackasses, that you don't want to hear from. But hopefully the hate speech, the bullying, the really nasty stuff that everybody's afraid of will be, kind of under control. I saw a really disappointing segment on PBS did a thing about Elon buying Twitter, and they were interviewing someone from the Washington Post, and overall good comments and things, but the disappointing part was the person being interviewed kept saying, well, like what if it's beheadings or child stuff I'm not going to say because I don't want to be this video to be banned. What if it allows really horrific stuff? And I think that's where some common sense of there are some things that are beyond free speech and what would be allowed to show. The disappointing part about it is this person kept saying that and it kind of was like what if he does this? What if he does that? Well, can you do this? And kind of just throwing fuel on the fire of, oh no, it's going to be terrible. When, again, we're going to have to wait and see. I think that's all I really wanted to say about that, which was too much. I hesitated even doing a live stream tonight because the reactions have been so over the top, and unfortunate. And Elon adds to it. He's his own worst enemy when he tweets or, says something glib or stupid at kind of a crucial point when people are making up their minds, is this good or bad? And he goes, hey! And you're just kind of left going, oh, man, like, just be cool for a little bit, man. So that's, but again, he's a human being. He's going to do stuff. And, I think a tweet he had before I came on was, we want Twitter to be maximum fun. So hopefully people can put their pitchforks away and have fun. Yeah, thanks, Tyler. Tyler says I'm canceled. That's the way to do it. I just, I don't think anyone's necessarily brave for staying on. Maybe we'll have to do a little more liberal use of the block button, which I may have blocked one or two people, but I really haven't ever really had to use that. Most things I just ignore, but I do like to hear what other people say. I know the big concern everybody had is the former president going to be let back on, and he said he won't come back on, but that's a possibility. And my gut reaction when I heard, when people started bringing that up as like, yeah, do it, Elon, do it. My first reaction was like, I don't want to deal with that. I think I'd be out. But I did respond this to someone who was kind of making a bit of drama about, leaving or staying. And, a lot of people on Twitter rightfully have really praised the Ukrainian people and Zelensky for staying and fighting. Russia thought they were going to have a 3-day war. I think we're into month 3 now, which sucks completely. But those people chose to stay and fight in a real horrifying life and death situation. And you have other people who aren't willing to, when they see a side maybe they don't like, come to what Elon wants to be a public forum. Again, we'll see how that pans out, but when people see, accounts I don't like might come back, or there might be new accounts that I don't like, people choose to flee instead of stay and fight when the stakes are so incredibly low. Excuse me. Staying on Twitter is not really a big deal. And like I said, who knows? It might get better. Elon responded to somebody who's very right-leaning today, and he said, yeah, I'm kind of getting it from all sides right now, definitely more from the left, but if we do this right, we're going to make people on the right mad as well. So, that tells me that, they're going to try to do something good. Even if we don't like everything everyone says, we don't like everything everyone says anyway. So, I think it'll be okay. And if people need to leave and the whole thing falls apart, that's life. Aaron says, it amazes me that the same people that are happy Elon bought Twitter because Trump will be back on are the same people that don't want to believe electric cars will work. Yeah, and that's kind of the same. It's kind of the opposite of what I was saying earlier. It was a very Democratic-leaning, left-leaning poster saying, maybe we should all just, stop driving Teslas or not support Tesla. That was what I was responding to. And it's like, okay, well, do you hate Elon or do you hate climate change and want to actually do something about it? Because stamping your feet and say, I'm not going to do something good for the world because I don't like one guy. Again, not that you have to buy Teslas, but that's what most of EVs are right now. It's like you have to choose in your own head how you prioritize things. I think the people concerned about Elon wanting everyone's, I've read some really crackpot things. Like Elon wants everyone's data, and he wants to. This may have, I might be confusing this with a satire thing, but essentially the thought process was he wants everyone's data and he wants computer chips in their heads and they'll talk to the satellites all around the world and he can control everyone's mind. Just so bizarre. And I think, like, I've followed Elon since early 2018. And again, he's done some dumb, stupid, hurtful posts and things and done and said stupid things. But, I think if you've followed him for a while, generally what he says in public is what he is going to do or try to do in private. I don't think he has any interest in making any this isn't his get rich quick scheme. He's got more money than he would ever need, or access to enough more money than he would ever need, and he knows it. He doesn't live in a mansion. He doesn't, do typical billionaire things. He keeps his money in Tesla and SpaceX, boring company, and Neuralink and stuff, and now Twitter. But I don't think, I think people are assigning their points of view of like, well, think how much money you could make. I'd make a whole bunch of money if I did this. And I don't think he cares really if it makes money, if it works well and is fair. I don't think money is really his. Money is not his goal. I don't know what he would do with the data if he were to collect it. Obviously, companies have a lot of use for it, and there's advertising and things like that. But as far as more nefarious than what was already being done, or what Facebook does, or will he just ignore most of it because it doesn't, I don't see him having a nefarious use for the data. I could be completely wrong. There's some speech algorithms or, human typing algorithms. I don't know. I have no idea. But I don't see that as his goal at all. I think he wants to implement changes and then go, I'm done, and I'm just going to enjoy using Twitter for the rest of my life. To me, that seems far more like his personality. Tyler's all on board for the brain chips and satellites, so we're going to sign him up. He can be the first. He can be the first one connected. You can control the world, man. It's been a real, like I said, a real Rorschach test of like whatever people's boogeyman is, that's what Elon's going to do. And from my experience of following him, if you listen to what he said in those interviews, that's what he's going to try to do. I don't think there's a lot more to it than that. Will he succeed? Will things become a hellscape? We don't know. And that's why I'm very much in wait and see mode. Um, but hoping that humans can be verified, and we can get rid of some of those, bots. I saw, like I said earlier, several accounts saying I gained so many followers all of a sudden, and it's like, but did you? Let's see. Maybe a whole bunch of new people joined. Maybe the bots just swarmed in while they can, to amplify the voices they want to. That will be a real interesting thing about the open source nature of it. Like who gets amplified and why, or does everyone pretty much have the same clout? And you just have to find people and follow them if you want to. That will be really interesting to see. Yeah. I don't have a ton of followers, and I don't follow a ton of people. Generally, if people follow me and then seem like real human beings, and people I could have a civil conversation with, then I will pretty much follow them back. But if people are, like I said, I'm a 20-year-old girl who started my account yesterday and, want to talk crypto, I'm not going to follow you back. Sorry. I'm a happily married man. And I'm sure they're definitely young ladies. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. The stock market seemed to calm down a little bit today, and I know there's a ton of macro stuff going on. If you want good insight that's not overhyped, follow Rob Maurer at Tesla Daily for a kind of daily, hey, the market tanked today. Was that a Tesla thing? Was that a NASDAQ thing? He's got a pretty good handle on that kind of stuff. So worth following him. But really, those are the only two topics I had for the day. There's a lot more going on. Dirty Tesla had a good look at the Mercedes EQS over at Monroe. Interesting. Seems like the screens are pretty laggy, but otherwise it's a nice car. As far as he's concerned, I still have some design. We talked about that one night on the live stream, but I've still got some problems with the design overall and the interior and stuff. But again, it's good. It's an EV. They're making them. Hopefully they make more. Hopefully they can sell every one they make. And I think that's going to be the case with the Ford F-150 Lightning, as I would say probably for the next 5 years, they'll be able to sell every single one they can make. Once Rivian fully ramps, once Silverado EV is here, once Cybertruck is out, there will be competition, but I don't think any one of them are going to have a hard time selling every single vehicle they can make. Especially once those Lightnings hit the job sites and you're plugging in and recharging your tools throughout the workday, overnight. It's really going to change people's minds. And when you do that all day and then still have enough juice to drive back to the headquarters or your home or whatever, then you charge it up overnight, it's ready to go the next day. I think people are really, really going to come around fast. And once regular people at job sites see that they're functional, quiet, fast, durable, I think that a lot of people's minds are going to get changed. And again, going back to the butts and seats thing, if that's your new work truck, because your boss said that's your new work truck, you've now ridden in an EV, and maybe you think it sucks for the first couple weeks. Maybe it will suck, but maybe you think it sucks for the first couple weeks, and then after a month you don't think about it anymore, and then after 6 months you start noticing your own truck at home is kind of noisy and kind of beat up, and hey, wouldn't it be nice to have all that power and smooth torque and be able to charge stuff? And hey, maybe that EV is pretty good after all. So I think it's going to be a game changer. I think all of these trucks coming out, the Rivian is a game changer for what it does. The Hummer is a monstrosity that is for ridiculousness, and that's really all it's for. So great, they'll make a handful of those and they'll sell them. But the Ford F-150, the Silverado, and the Cybertruck are really going to change a great amount of minds, I think. And by the time, I did want to say this too, but by the time all of those are fully ramped in production, it's just going to be so commonplace to see those, and they're going to start replacing ICE vehicles. And trucks that do a lot of polluting are now going to be EVs. So that just means we need to green up our grid more, but that's another whole topic. I did want to comment a little bit on the, like I was talking about the comments on the Lightning live stream where, like the cyber fraud and all that stuff. I may have said this on the live stream before, but I really do think part of the reason they revealed the Cybertruck when they did was to jumpstart Ford and Chevy into thinking they needed to, jumpstart their plans and really start working on an electric truck. People get confused in that Tesla's mission isn't to make every car in the world and have everyone buy a Tesla. Tesla's mission is to transition the world to sustainable energy. And so announcing the Cybertruck and kind of putting that flag in the ground and saying, hey, this thing's coming, it got the other truck makers to say, well, instead of in 5 years from now, this is coming, in 2 years from now, this is coming. And, as far as the big players, Ford got here first. That's great because they have the most customers, and the biggest fleet of Ford owners is the one that needs to change. So that's great. But people, obviously it would be great if the Cybertruck had come earlier, but it's, Tesla's mission is pushing everybody toward EVs. And so the more other companies make EVs, the faster Ford got into the truck market, or the EV truck market, and has, bragging rights about that and everything. That just helps Tesla's mission is, converting the whole world over time, as quickly as we can, to sustainable transport, sustainable energy, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a big day. Some people got a little breathless about it as far as, like, okay, it's a big day, settle down. But it's good that people are excited. Other people are like, well, they weren't, the crowd didn't seem too enthusiastic. And I know some of that is, kind of, again, that good-natured ribbing between brands and, followers and all that. But really doesn't matter. If the people in the audience didn't whoop and cheer and, scream and cry, and they still make a great EV that people love and, produce more and more of them, it's a win. So I'm excited for it. I won't be buying one, just like I won't be buying a Rivian, but I would love to see one and hope to soon. But I think for tonight, I've managed to hold my rants in. We did go on a tear there for a while, and I think, with a lot of things in life and, kind of it seems like I say this every week with a whole bunch of different topics, but, sometimes you just have to be calm and wait and see. And, I think that's where we are on the Twitter thing. But with that, unless anybody else has anything in the chat in the next couple minutes, just let me know. But I think we're going to sign off here. So John says, try staying off Twitter for a couple weeks. You might calm down. Yeah, that is a problem, and need to work on that. We might be going up north in a couple weeks, and I might do a no social media trip and just take the cameras, film it all, but turn everything off on my phone and just keep it for emergencies. Maybe just have airplane mode on. Might be a healthy thing to do. I don't think the whole world's going to fall apart for a long weekend. But to let you guys know, the video I have coming up this weekend is a 1 year and a month actually look at our Model Y ownership experience. A little bit of comparison with the Model S, but just kind of talking about how the body's held up, how the interior's held up, software, the differences in AP1 on the Model S with autopilot, some of the road tripping things, and how it's worked out for us. And I don't really want to spoil it, but obviously we still like our Model Y. So that'll be up, should be up 9:30 a.m. Central Time Sunday morning. And I hope you enjoy that. It's got a lot of good B-roll from all the trips and things we've done this last year. So look forward to that on Sunday. And until then, stay calm and wait and see. Thanks for watching, and have a great night. I appreciate everyone joining. And now I got to find the end screen. There we are. All right. See you later. Bye.